I love my body. I love myself. Yeah, yeah. And I love making 10 grand a day. Welcome to the Shaft Show. Today we're going to be talking to Adam from the Polite Club. And we're going to be talking about strength as a form of vulnerability as a form of strength. Now, we got an expert in the field of consciousness and coaching, our man Adam. And before we begin, I'd love to get all of you to subscribe to this channel. It really helps with the algorithm gods, so we could get more awesome people like Adam contributing and serving the community of the Shaft Show. I'm here in Battersea, London. It isn't London unless there's sirens and helicopters flying around. So this episode is sponsored by the Shaft Method. Check out the 10 levels to your awakening at Tantra Shaft, which is a huge library of courses around personal development. If you're a male entrepreneur, you might want to check out the SEMEN retention course that could accelerate your love life, your health, your wealth, your sexiness, and everything. So let us begin. Adam, please share a little bit about your passion.
My passion.
What are you passionate about, bro?
What I'm passionate about? I'm passionate about redefining vulnerability until it's seen as the strength that it is, and to the point where it gets another denotation of it in the dictionary. That's what I'm passionate about, because
that's a big deal.
That's my personal mission. Yeah, so that's real work. That's real change if you can change language, right? And so. Yeah, I help people unweave their web of parental and social conditioning and understand what's going on in the, let's say, universe, but their life, and how they've been conditioned into the life that they currently have, and how to break free from that and live a life of their choosing. And the catalyst to that is vulnerability.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Let's say somebody has their awakening from the matrix, leaves the rat race. They go on their healing journey. They do their first yoga teacher training, their first ayahuasca, their breath work. They fall down this rabbit hole of healing. And once they've done all the healing, let's say a few years have passed, how do they reintegrate back into normal society?
They can't.
You can't come back. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's
You've seen too much.
Not exactly like that. It's like they're vibrating at a different frequency. So
they are.
So their reality, it's a kind of a one-way ticket in that you as vibrating as you heal your trauma from the past. It's like taking kinks out of a hose pipe. And as you take the kinks out of the hose pipe, more energy flows through you. You raise your vibration, and therefore you start to look literally at a different reality. So you can sometimes slip back go from 5D to 3D, let's say. And you're human, so that happens at times, but you have the tools and the resources to be able to bring yourself back out and not stay in trigger and trauma for a prolonged period of time and start like beating yourself up and doing all those kind of things. Yes, it does happen, but the episodes get shorter and shorter and shorter.
Now, Ram Dass calls this phase the holy phony, where you've done your spiritual awakening, you're sitting next to a bar, or sitting at a bar, someone starts talking to you, and they just know that you're a little bit different.
Right.
So there's many cycles of this, where you go on your healing journey, you come back to normal society, you try and get your old job back, you can't get your old job back. So I've noticed a lot of people, because time has passed now in this world that we call wellness and bringing all of these technologies to the masses, I've noticed a trend where people are saying, get me off this spiritual merry-go-round and get me back into normal society. So what tips would you give to someone who is having their awakening from their awakening?
Their awakening from their awakening. I would want to understand more of what the reasonings are to go back into their old way of being and things like that. But without knowing the context of an individual, so this is kind of generic. It would be like, they're at the point where they're just about to break through. You know, it's like the night is darkest before the dawn. And it's like, if you hold on and keep going and talk to people, first and foremost, talk to a person and be vulnerable about exactly what's going on for you. So authentically, how you're feeling, what you're thinking, all of the stuff's going on, because it feels that would indicate that there might be some shame linked to what's coming up for them around, you know, if they're on this, you know, the spiritual path and things are coming up, it's difficult at times, it's for sure. And it's to go back into their old job doesn't necessarily mean they're going to lose. You know, it might feel like one step forward, two steps back. You're still making progress, right? And so if you need to have a break, well, I don't know, I did those. If you need to have a break and then go back into your old job, the trouble is you've kind of taken the lid off stuff. You've looked into a box, and the box is still going to go with you wherever. If you're working in a bank or you're working on this, you know, something that's your passion or your vocation, your inner turmoil isn't going anywhere. It doesn't matter whether you're in a bank or that, does it? So it's a bit of, I would ask that person to reach out to people around them, and try and keep going if they can. Talk about what's going on, do some breath work, allow that thing to go through. But if they're sick and tired, I can't see necessarily why they'd be sick and tired of the freedom that comes with your following your passion and your purpose. But I would be intrigued as to what it might be, and also I am very aware that it's all part of the journey. It's like what's happening in the Maya, the illusion that is around us, is only an illusion. It is like what's going on. It's being created by what's inside. So if you're having a hard time outside, it's because there's a hard time going on inside.
But I'd love to have you expand on strength as a vulnerability.
Yeah.
Or vulnerability as a superpower.
So the word vulnerability means vulnera means wound, and then ability, obviously. So the ability to look into your wounds, in essence. And why I categorize it as such a strength is because in the moment, like on a battlefield, not so much, right? Vulnerability is not a good thing because you could obviously physically get injured. But in conversation, opening up and saying how you authentically feel, whether that's good, bad, or ugly, takes incredible strength to notice that, because you put yourself out there, you're going to be exposed, you're going to expose yourself to, you know, whatever's on the other side or whatever you're fearing. And in order to be able to do that takes strength. Like, you know, it's a risk, it's a gamble. And the only way to get confidence in doing that is by doing it regularly. But like, so think of it as like lifting weights. You could lift a small weight and then lift a big weight in due course. But it takes time and effort. It takes time and mental cognition to be able to go, right, okay, something's coming up for me now. Rather than going to my old pattern of behavior, I'm going to change my behavior and actually talk about it or whatever. But to get over that threshold, you are feeling exposed, you're feeling vulnerable. And so the feeling of vulnerability, which is the thing that our body goes when we're going into fight and flight, the natural human reaction is to shut it down, to go to safety. But in order to change our lives, the only way out is through. And so therefore, which takes incredible strength. So the feeling of vulnerability feels like a negative, but it is in fact an incredibly positive signal to follow and work and brave through, and take the strength to go through the uncomfortable feeling that comes hand in hand with it. And each time you do, your ability to be able to hold more and more of that energy increases, the capacity increases.
So let's say someone's had an argument with their girlfriend.
Yeah.
And he's getting criticized all the time. He can't get anything right. His girlfriend's turned into his nagging mother, basically. And he'd rather just go to the pub with his mates and avoid his relationship. This is a lot of men in the UK, to be honest. And a lot of men, eventually they just rather hide in the greenhouse and tend to the plants rather than deal with their wife has gone batshit crazy.
Yeah.
How do you deal with this, Adam? This is going to be the final question. This is a hot one for all the men listening.
Yeah, I think it works the other way around. I'm sure there's lots of women that are annoyed with their man too, but I think the answer's the same. Is like, so where vulnerability comes in, it's like if the person you're referring to is triggered and so is really like angry and upset, at that point, taking some space and distancing yourself from them, yes, that's the correct thing to do, because we want to get out of trigger, because you can't communicate when someone is in. I don't know if you know about transactional analysis with regards to child persona, parental persona, and adult persona. But if a person's triggered, they're generally in their child persona, which is they're just going to start to throw their toys out the pram, and they're upset. They can't see that they're in a certain emotion. So if that's the case, then they need to, take some time apart, take a time out, and go, okay, go. Maybe that is going down the pub, but not. But if you are intending on coming back to talk about it, don't drink alcohol. Like, don't come back drunk. that's not going to help the problem. But where the vulnerability comes in, and particularly the ability bit of that, is that in order to be able to hold space for a person, if a person's been triggered, is like for a man to get, like, I can see that something is upset with you. I'd love to be able to hold this and discuss it through. It takes a lot of ability to be able to do that, right? And so if they have that urge to go, right, I'm going to go down the pub instead of this, it's like, okay, as I said, if it's a volatile situation and you need to just get out of the house for a bit, okay. But if you can get to a point where there is a bit of equilibrium and you can actually have a conversation about it, it's at that point, if you still want to go to the pub, I'd say you're avoiding going into your emotions. Yeah. And so that at that point, and I'm speaking as an ex-avoidant, I used to go numb in situations like that. I'd be like, I just numb out, and it would be like, I don't give a shit. It's like, I don't care now. I don't give a shit. And that's a sign of anxiety, but it's just not the traditional one, which is overwhelm. And that is vulnerability as well, even though it doesn't feel like it in the moment, because 9 times out of 10, three days later or so, you start to feel that thing or realize whatever you were numb about has gone, and you're really sad about that. And so being able to go, okay, something's coming up for me. Beautiful sentence. Something's coming up for me, and I can feel that I'm numbing out, but I would love to be here for you. And so that's a sign that I'm getting triggered. So I just want to put that out there, and I'd like, to be able to discuss it through. And just in the nature of saying that, your body will start to relax. Yeah. And then it's a case of and a lot of men, I think, is we don't know what's the problem. Like, we know that there's the symptom of the problem, which might be, I want to go down the pub, or I want to avoid, or I want to just go on my game all the time, or I just, want to just avoid this, get away from the situation. But we don't know what the root cause is. And so the general, obviously, having a coach to help highlight the points where what is coming up for a person is useful. But generally, a sign is that you've been triggered, and at that moment is to be able to firstly breathe through your nose. Whenever you're in a traumatic situation, breathe through your nose, because you go into your parasympathetic nervous system, and that immediately calms you down. And then the magic words in a relationship is, something's come up for me. That's what I would advise a person to do. But first things first is notice what you're noticing. So if you can notice that you have a desire to avoid going to the pub or whatever, that's a sign that there's something, you've been triggered and there's some work to do. Next step phase would be saying, something's come up for me, and not not lashing out, or not verbally or otherwise, and then be able to hold your own energy. And it takes time, it takes practice to be able to do that, but that's what I would advise a person to do.
Beautiful, love that. So, some practical solutions for a lot of people out there. And where can we find you, Adam?
It's pretty easy to remember based on the topic of this conversation. I'm the vulnerability guy on Instagram, and my full name is Adam Slawson, and so it's adamslawson.com. And you can also find me via Plight Club HQ, which is just Google Plight Club, and you'll find all those things. So yeah, if there are any men out there that are wanting to delve deeper into their parental and social conditioning, so that they can hold their own energy and in turn hold their partner's energy, to be able to move through difficult conversations like that and essentially get out of their own way, then there is essentially my method, the LAM method, is like a roadmap that provides the structure and discipline to be able to get yourself to the point where you can have difficult conversations. And think about it like lifting weight. It's like lifting emotional weights so that you can be strong with your emotions. And I mean strength through flexibility, not through like hiding away from them, but your ability to be able to flex when an emotional thing happens, and so hold that energy and therefore be able to respond instead of react.
Oh, love that. Everybody watching, make sure you click on the links below and find out more about the vulnerability guy. And everybody, again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Adam. We'll probably have you in next week. Next week, I'll be in Estonia at Mind Valley University, where my financial awakening journey began. So I'll see where I am there. And if you enjoyed what you saw, make sure you smash up that like, press that subscribe button. I noticed that 99% of people are pretty much window shoppers. So subscribe, turn on your notifications. I've been working with a few clients and they want free Q&As. I was like, you know what? Just show up here, leave some questions in the comments, and I'll do free Q&As. You get free coaching instead of having to pay 2,500 English pounds for a month. That's a bargain. That's a bargain.
Absolute bargain.
So if anybody's on YouTube, you can actually join up to my 3 levels of membership. $49.99 for the deeper work, and also other levels of membership tiers happening on my YouTube channel. So make sure you do that. This episode has been sponsored by The Shaft Method. Make sure you click on tantrumshaft.com or any of the links below provided, where you could have a library of online courses that you could work through for personal development, enlightenment, and managing and harnessing your sexual energy. So thank you so much, Adam, and everybody. Make sure you have the best day of your life.
Cheers, everyone. See you later.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.